Hey guys, it's Lee Henkin here. Welcome to this video, and this one is going to be about the three biggest barriers to cold email campaign success. Okay, and once we go through as we go through each of these three barriers, I'm going to be actually explaining how you can avoid this happening entirely, or what steps you can take to actually fix it and overcome these barriers or these obstacles to seeing success from your cold email campaigns. Okay, so let's just dive right into the meat and bones of it. So there's really three things that I would say are at least the biggest or most common barriers, obstacles, whatever you want to call it, to seeing success with cold email. First, there being deliverability, another low positive reply rates, and another being lead response follow up. So these three variables or things, they can really impede the kind of results you see with cold email. Okay, so I'm going to go through the first one here, deliverability. So there's a lot of stuff already out there online regarding deliverability, setup, and infrastructure and stuff like that. So while that is the case and the reality, still, it's one of those things that I still see people messing up and making mistakes with. And like, as I've already said, like if you don't get this right, this deliverability part of your cold email setup, it's going to be a pretty huge, major barrier to actually getting the results you want from your campaigns. So deliverability, it's usually important to landing in the inbox, and it's honestly not that difficult to get this right. Okay, you just got to basically follow the steps. So the steps are really simple. It's like before you start, like if you're brand new to cold email, you need to be registering domains different to your primary domain. Okay, it's still, even in 2024, there's still times where I've had conversations with people who still like send emails from their primary domain. It's pretty crazy, I guess, from my perspective, but you don't know what you don't know, as they say. So yeah, you're really going to make sure you register domains that are different to your primary domain. So when you do that, you use whatever. I mean, I typically use GoDaddy. There's tons of different like providers out there you can use for this. Okay, the main thing is that you're setting up separate domains that you're going to use specifically for your cold email campaigns. Really important with that too is to make sure you got the redirect set up. So basically, if someone types in the browser that URL, that it doesn't just go to like a parked domain screen. You want it to redirect to your main website. So that's just an important thing. Make sure you don't overlook. The next part of it is the technical setup. Again, this is pretty simple. Like I've got other videos on this. There's tons of resources out there. I mean, you can just Google it, like how to set up like DMARC records, DKIM authentication, SPF, stuff like that. Custom tracking domain, that's going to depend on the different software you use. Like I use Instantly, so it's really cool that they allow you to use custom tracking domains. It's super easy to use. But like I said, you can literally find all this out just like Google search. It's really easy to do. So yeah, so make sure you get that technical setup and authentication taken care of, okay, because that's going to play a big role in whether like an email server will think your email address is spammy or not. Last but not least, warming up. So when you've created your email accounts under your like new domains you're going to be using, you really want to make sure that you're warming them up for at least 14 days. The longer the better. The minimum I allow for brand new domains, for email accounts under brand new domains, is 14 days. What I will do though, if I'm using a domain that's like, as an example, 6 months old and I create another mailbox email account under that domain, I'll warm it up for like 10 days and then I'll just start using it at very low volume, like 20 emails a day, for example. just because it's an older domain. So, but the general rule of thumb is when it's brand new, 14 days for a brand new domain and email account. So that's the deliverability side of it. It's really not that difficult to get this taken care of, but it's an important fundamental. If you don't get this right, it's going to be a pretty major hindrance and barrier in terms of being able to get results from cold email. Okay, so that's the first one, the low positive response rate. So, yeah, like obviously, if you're running cold email campaigns and you're not getting a lot of positive replies, it's a pretty big impediment to getting results because you're not going to get results. So it's kind of self-explanatory in that sense. So, really, if you're not getting a lot of positive replies or you're getting zero positive replies, it's generally going to be a combination of, like, in my experience, at least, generally the most common explanations for this are going to be something to do with the offer itself and the way it's packaged, your messaging scripts, and who you're targeting. Okay, now another thing that I haven't got actually written on the dot, which I probably should have written in actually, is also timing does play a role in this as well. But the reason I think I was reluctant to put that in is because timing isn't necessarily something you can control. Whereas with like the other three things here, you can control them, but it is a fact that timing often does play a role as well, in addition to these that I've mentioned here. So how do you overcome this? So if you're getting low or zero positive replies, like what do you do? Okay, so well, if the issue is generally going to be something to do with your scripts, targeting, and the offer, the way it's packaged, there's different things you need to tackle each like thing basically at a time. So targeting, for example, things you could do is to look at like who you're targeting. So if you've like only just been targeting like C-level heads, like CEOs, founders, presidents, managing directors, and stuff like that, maybe like try targeting the marketing heads if that's going to be applicable, or like sales directors. It's going to obviously depend on the business, what you offer, and stuff like that. But you really want to be targeting multiple personas, because I've seen in many campaigns instances where like one persona will get a higher response than others, literally to the exact same messaging script and offer. So yeah, which is kind of revealing in itself. So it's a really important. You want to make sure you're testing both of those and just look at the targeting you're doing and what you've done so far and kind of how you can tweak and optimize that, and just so you can test things out and get that data you need. Other things too regarding targeting, you also want to be looking at, like, if it's applicable, of course, different industries, verticals, stuff like that. Again, I've seen real life examples of this where like one particular vertical will just absolutely kill it compared to others. Just right now, I'm thinking of a client um, who works with, well, they can work with non-profit organisations plus for-profit vertical like organizations or companies too. And in regards to the for-profit side, there's like a few different industries, whether it's like finance, tech, construction. It's kind of like quite broad for them. And then you've got like non-profits. And what I've found, at least with this client, is for their offer specifically, the non-profit campaigns where we're targeting non-profit organisations absolutely demolish any for-profit verticals we focus on. So there's a lesson in that, and that is you want to be testing and trying different industries verticals again if it's applicable, because you will see a variance. That's, I can pretty much guarantee you, if you can target multiple industries or verticals, you will see that variance. Okay. Other things too you might want to look at is like maybe revenue size, like looking at revenue filters when you're building a list, company sizes, stuff like that. And again, I haven't got it written on the doc, but geographic location can actually be one too. I've seen cases before where like different countries or even continents will perform better than others for whatever reason. So yeah, there's a few things you want to look at there with the targeting. Onto the messaging scripts and the offer itself. I've lumped these two together since they're kind of fairly intertwined with each other. So yeah, like on that side, it's going to really depend. So there's a lot of different angles and approaches you can take with cold emails. So I've listed a few here. Like if you, for example, have just been trying messaging scripts where you like reach out offering a case study, or you just like direct pitch your prospects, and you're still not getting much response. Try like offering lead magnets or some like just some free value. Maybe it's some kind of audit, analysis, assessment. Maybe it's like some free leads. Maybe it's like a free mock-up video. Maybe it's like a document of something that's related to what you do that they will find valuable, because it's like helping them kind of get more awareness and understanding about a problem they have. Like you just want to be, yes, it's just an idea. Like you want to be looking at, if you haven't tried that, to try like a lead magnet and offering free value. You might want to try between different CTAs. Maybe you've just been like having offering or using CTAs where you want to book a call, or try a softer CTA where it's just like asking if you can send over a slide deck, or just like a simple yes or no question like, is this a challenge you experience at your company, or is this a challenge you currently experience um, within your marketing department or IT department or whatever. You just like ask a question, simple, soft CTA as a question. And then, of course, different hooks and angles. So, what do I mean by that? Because generally, what's going to happen is like most offers, service offerings, or product offerings, they're going to have multiple benefits and results they provide, and they're going to overcome different challenges and problems. So you might want to look at actually creating messaging scripts that specifically target maybe one benefit, one specific tangible result, one challenge, stuff like that. So that's what I mean when I say like different hooks and angles. So yeah, this is something you're just going to have to test out a lot. Like, the reality is cold email campaigns are not something that you just like click your fingers and then you're going to have like a whole like fuck ton of leads falling into your lap. You have to do a lot of testing, like testing in terms of targeting and messaging scripts. That's just the reality. It's literally like a paid ads campaign. You're not going to run a paid ads campaign and 2 days later have a bunch of leads in your lap. You have to test different creative headlines, different ad targeting, whole bunch of stuff. It's literally the same with cold emails, just a different channel. So yeah, a lot of stuff there to test, but with your messaging scripts and also your offer itself. So that's the second one. The third barrier or major impediment is going to be lead response follow up. Okay, so this really like relates to how you handle and reply to interested leads in the inbox. So there's a couple things in particular like really related to this that cause the issue, and the first would be like not responding like fast enough. Because basically the longer you leave it, the less interested the lead is. So you got to strike the iron while it's hot, as they say. And secondly, is just not following up enough after you've got like their first response. So yeah, you really need to do multiple follow-ups across ideally multiple channels. So just to break a couple of these, or each of these down quickly. So in terms of like the lead response time and not responding fast enough, my rule is you really want to be responding like I guess the longest, no later than 24 hours. But even way earlier than that, really ideally, that's kind of the max you want to like stretch it out is 24 hours in my opinion. But some ideas here is like if like a lead has replied in the morning, make sure you're replying in the morning as well, or at least in the afternoon of the same day. And if you're getting a reply in the afternoon, again, reply either in the afternoon or at least the very next morning. So you're really like not letting it stretch out beyond 24 hours. Okay. And ideally, though, you're doing it within like a few hours. But obviously, if you're applying the very next morning after a response in the afternoon, it's going to be a bit longer, but still, it's better than letting it drag out to the next afternoon or even the next day. So The general rule with this, the rule of thumb is the faster you respond, the more likely you're going to be able to convert that initial interest into something stronger, like a booked call. I've got clients, for example, who literally reply like with an hour or two, and they always get better results in terms of being able to convert. So yeah, there's something to keep in mind there. And regarding the lack of follow up, so a lot of people think you can just send like one or even two follow ups, and then if like a lead just goes quiet, then that's the end of it. The reality is you got to at least do it a few times, send at least a few follow ups, and ideally combining other channels. So, for example, once you get that interested response in your inbox, you want to reply in the inbox to that lead. But then you also, as an example, you're going to be sending them a connection request on LinkedIn. They might not accept it, but if if it doesn't matter, as the key is you want to be leveraging other channels. So you really want to be making sure you're leveraging other channels and multiple follow-ups. So, I'm talking like 4 or 5 emails and even throwing in like warm calling. Warm calling will get you, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to get more calls if you do warm calling. Like whenever I've seen um, warm calling being used, it always results in more meetings booked. And I'm talking about instances where you've tried 4 or 5 times via email or LinkedIn or something and there's been no reply. You think they're dead. A warm call will actually like get things ignited again. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. And last but not least, here, just point here to mention is having a structure to your follow-up. So by that, I mean actually document like what your follow-up structure is. So it's like, they respond. I'm going to then send an email. I'm going to then connect on LinkedIn. I'm then going to send another email. I'm going to then send another email. I'm going to send them an email message. I'm going to try a warm call. So you just document out a structure you can follow. And then you ideally have like a CRM where you can track your activity, to hold yourself accountable and also just like, yeah, see where things are at in the pipeline. So they're really what I would say. Yeah, the three biggest barriers, kind of obstacles, impediments, hindrances, whatever word you want to use, seeing success with cold email campaigns. So just to recap, deliverability, positive reply rates, and lead response follow-ups. Okay, so if you really focus on those three things, and I'd particularly say number two and number three, the positive reply rates and the lead response follow-ups, you're just going to be giving yourself a leg up in terms of being able to see success from cold email. So that's really it for today's video. Hopefully that was helpful, gives you guys a lot of value. If you got any comments, you want to add any questions, do let me know. Comment, let me know your question, whatever it is. If you enjoyed the video, you got some value from it, do like it, share it, and of course, subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified whenever I create new videos. So that's pretty much it, guys. Appreciate it, and see you on the next video.